Welcome. I'm going to just start with a quick word of prayer. I know we did before, and we're going to go on. Heavenly Father, we just have to stop and thank you, Lord. Thank you so much for creating these things. You've created the herbs for the service of man. So as we talk about it, we want to ask your blessing. We want to ask your wisdom. Share with us these insights, Lord. It is because of you. You have revealed these things that you have put within it because of your love for us. And we thank you for that. May we get to understand and know you more as we learn more. In Jesus' name, amen. So we will be discussing, as was mentioned, more about these different herbs. And the hardest part for me is always where to start. So there are some that I don't have. So I guess I'll start with some that I do not have, and some of that will be, or I guess a good place to start would be for using dandelion. Some of you may have heard of some of these herbs. Some of them you may not have heard of. But take notes, may be a blessing to you. So we're going to start with the dandelion. A dandelion is also, it has different names. Lion's tooth is another name. If you ever see the leaves of the dandelion, I was trying to find one of them. It grows as a weed. And you're going to learn that a lot of herbs that's weeds are herbs that God has made to bless us. So it's gonna be, it looks almost, to me, it looks more like a shark, like if you look at it, it just reminds me of a shark for some reason. But some of you don't know about dandelion as a weed. So using the leaves could be used internally as a means to, as a cleanse in the body. The root is kind of known more, but everything from the the flower on top where the seeds grow, where you blow the dandelions and the seeds spread. The stem, thank you, that's what I'm thinking, the stem. From the stem down to the root, you can use all of it for dandelion. And how you would do it, I guess we could work our way down. The stem can actually be used, and it was used in the past, especially in the late 1700s, if you see some of the articles on there. They used to use that for diabetes. So they would take approximately 5 to 8, some people up to 10 of the stems. So imagine this was the stem. Of course, this isn't the stem, but imagine this is the stem. They would get the stem and they would cut it, at its base. And you want to, when you do this, by the way, you want to do this in the midday. So let's say that you have dandelion growing by you, that you trust the source. It's not just at the side of the road where a lot of vehicles are passing, but a good source, maybe in a meadow that's not very used. So you could free way to get it. You want to wash it, of course, but you want to get it at midday. And one of the reasons for that would just be just understanding plant life, right? So like if you think about winter time, when the winter comes, the leaves fall off because the coldness of the winter, the sap goes down to the roots. So for instance, if you're doing something with roots, you ever want the strength of the roots, the strongest value, the strongest concoction you'll get from any root, from most roots, because there are a few exceptions. From most roots, you'll get when you do it when it's either night or winter time, stronger winter time, because all the energy to create the leaves and flowers goes to the root, so that you get all of that energy when you do it that time. So even timing, right? Ecclesiastes tell us that to everything there's a season, Ecclesiastes 3:1, and a time for everything done under the heaven. So I want to encourage you. Um, so that's what you can use it for. Okay. So, the stem for diabetes, using 8 to 10 and 6 to 10 a day. Just cutting it up and putting it in your salad. The leaves for the salad is amazing. So going down to the leaf now, it is amazing for digestive issues. It's amazing for ulcers. Actually, if you study, I like to see the studies done overseas in Europe and Germany, like in Germany, and you'll find that they use the tea of they make tea, strong decoctions of the root too, to help with things like ulcers of the stomach, right? Intestinal ulcers. They use the tea with good benefit. So, of course, you're on a reason from cause to effect. We're gonna talk about different remedies, but I want your mind to get used to using these things as a supplement, as a way to help, yes, and many times we've seen blessing and cures, But nonetheless, you do want to have a balanced diet. You want to get to the cause of all these things, right? So we're just talking more supplemental things to help problems, but always get to the root cause. Because if you keep doing it, it's going to come back again. You weren't meant to live on dandelion. So yeah, so the leaf is good for that. Internally, the tea is good. The roots are good for cleansing the blood or cancers, different cancers in general. It's definitely worth putting the root of dandelion in there. Again, that's good for diabetes. And it's just going to help purify the blood. It's going to be very HEPA protective. That just means it protects the liver. It's very good for your liver. So if you're dealing with hepatitis or a liver problem, liver ailments, then you definitely want to include dandelion to your regimen, right? So that's the dandelion. That's just talking. Another one that I want to say that I don't have before we get to the ones that we don't have would be licorice root. Now, licorice root is very hard. If you ever buy a licorice root, it's really hard. What you could do if you don't buy it cut and sifted, if you bought the stick and you're like, what do I do with this thing? Other than if you wanted to get it smaller, you can actually take a pliers and just really, if you squeeze it hard enough, you can break up the stem, the root, licorice root. You can break it up and then you could just cut it in pieces after that. After you break it up, it's a little less, the fibers separate, and then it's kind of easier to just cut. You can use another tool, a wire stripper or something to just cut that off. But you can take that for licorice root, you can take that for coughs. I remember working in the store Country Life here at Uchee Pines, and I was working at the store, and this little girl came in. She couldn't be more than 6 years old at the time, and she came in with a cough. She's coughing, coughing, as she's going to the store. And I told her mother about the licorice root, and I let her have. We had some, just a little piece, just a little piece, and I had her. I said, just she can have this. Just wash it off. Let her suck it as she's walking through the store. And about 10 minutes into walking through the store, you don't hear anything. I forgot about it, to be honest. And the mother came and says, wow. And she actually bought one of the sticks so that she can have it because it's just so good to soothe. So you can put that in a decoction. You can make a tea out of it. Now, keep in mind, it does take a good amount of doses, but it is a good warning that because there's an acid in licorice root that can lower potassium, it can affect your blood pressure, right? So you do want to be careful of that. Now, it has been shown that it takes a good amount of that, but we're all different and we react differently. So I do want to just give that little warning. But you can use licorice root for ulcers, also stomach issues, but lung issues. It's really, it really shines with some lung issues, and is also full of antioxidants, along with other ones I'm going to share with you. Full of antioxidants. So that is another option for you to take, licorice root. I think I'm trying to think of anyone that I don't have here that I'm not gonna. So just for time, I'll just move on. I want to show you the ones that I do have. I'll may just pick those up. One that you may find interesting, right? So these are some just straight from the farm. This is actually strawberry leaf. Now, when you think of strawberry leaf, right, remember the herbs are for the healing of the nation. You remember we're told that herbs are for the service of man, and we eat the strawberry, but the leaf itself could be used, just like dandelion leaf is edible. Strawberry leaves are actually edible also. They're more for just a lot, they have a lot of vitamins and minerals, packed with vitamins and minerals. So you can eat it, you can make a tea and drink that. You can use this also. Some people use it to as a way to rub on the teeth and gums. I've never used it for that one. I want to just share that with you. I've just heard that it's good for the teeth and gums from an oral hygiene, not, not necessarily like stop gingivitis, but I guess more preventative. But definitely taking it internally, eating or making a tea is packed with minerals and nutrients. It's a good way to just add that to the diet to get more from your diet. So that's strawberry leaves. So that's a good one. One that you're familiar with, and that's really, I wish you could smell this right now, is peppermint. This is peppermint leaf. And if you could smell this, it smells amazing. I'm probably gonna make some tea later from that. And peppermint tea is really good to help with sorry if I'm a little dark. It's good to just help with the stomach, upset stomach, if you're having you have a covering that helps to cover so that you don't have things like acid reflux, a sphincter that helps cover for us, preventing the acid from going back up. So what you want to do is you could just make a tea from this, right? If you have, again, upset stomach, you can make a tea. This is good for ulcers of the stomach also. That's a good way to use it. Some people use it externally, using making the tea, and they rub it for itchy skin. It's been reported to help really well with itchy skin. I think oats does the best for me, just like we talked about last time, but it's good to have an alternative. So this is good for itchy skin also. Making the tea, you can make it as an external application, just putting it in oil and fusing it in oil for weeks. It's going to become a liniment that you can rub on. That's another way, but we're going to talk about that with some other things later. So that's peppermint making like peppermint tea. Okay. And please feel hold your questions to the end. So if you smell it, now there is varieties of this, right? I know what you mean. I did see a quote there that it doesn't really look like the peppermint. But yes, it is a form. It is not spearmint, but it is a type of peppermint here that what we grow at Uchi Pines. And I know the other peppermint has a little longer too and broader leaves. But it is a form of there. And if you could smell this, for sure it's not spearmint, but it has that peppermint smell. But you can use it just as though, and because it's cooling to the point of the individual, because it's so cooling, when you put it as a liniment, it's good for any inflammation externally. So putting it on joint pain is going to be really good because of its cooling effect. They actually put this in some of pain ointments, analgesics. They put peppermint extracts in there, so that tells you you can use it also by yourself, right? Another one here is a dried form, right? This is lavender. Um, as you can see, right? This is a lavender, and what this is just lavender petals. And you can use the lavender. Many of you know lavender is really good to sleep. Some people put it in a pillow, they sew it around, and they put it by their bed. You can make the lavender oil. You put this in some oil, and you let that steep. You just put it in some oil. Olive oil, it works well, and you keep that for 4 to 6 weeks. You could filter it, and that's really good to use to help soothe, right? You're rubbing it over the temples to help soothe when there's a low anxiety, or you can rub it on the feet of children or the temples of children. It's going to really help them to sleep. There's a family here that uses that a lot. They rub it on the children in the nighttime, and they notice a significant difference in their sleep habits for the children, sleeping longer, giving parents more rest. I think if you're a parent, then you definitely want to have that up your in your belt. So, but of course, the tea is another thing you can do. So those are just some uses of lavender as you know it. Lavender also, if you do lavender oil, buy in like a lavender oil, you can use it. It's really good to help with scar tissue. So if you have stretch marks for women, you have to be consistent with it, but it helps with stretch marks. It helps with healing over scars if you've had a scar. Again, being consistent. This is a daily, especially the longer the scar has been there, being consistent with it has been shown to help heal that scar. So this is lavender. That's some of the things you can use for lavender. One that I want to talk about for the mind, and I really like this is ginkgo biloba, right? So this one we got from Country Life, and I like to just kind of show you what's going on in there. It's a dry form. I don't know if you're gonna see that well, but it's ginkgo biloba, this leaf, and it's used for the mind. So it's good for circulation. But they have realized that the circulation specifically, yes, systemically, but in the brain also. It helps to strengthen, along with another herb called gotu kola. I like to take those two in combination, and I will just type that in the chat, gotu kola. Those two herbs together, ginkgo biloba and gotu kola, are really good for strengthening the mind, for memory, for bringing circulation to the brain. That's a beautiful herb to do so. So I just like to take the both of them together because of their effects. They both are good for the mind. Gotu kola is very neuroprotective, right? So it's very good to protect the neurons in the brain also from early degeneration. So, it strengthens it almost like fertilizer for it. So gotu kola and ginkgo biloba. Another one that we have here. that we just want to continue on is catnip. Catnip, we you think of the cap, and you can see why it's low for me. I use this one for different reasons. One, I use it for now. I don't personally need this because I sleep like a baby. Well, I don't know who made up that term, sleep like a baby. If you ever had a child, a baby, they don't sleep. So, at least for me. So, but nonetheless, if you have catnip, it's really good to help soothe. It helps to bring down components in catnip is also good for fevers. We kind of think of it just for sleep, but it's really good for fevers. So if you have a child, especially children, you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 year olds, safe for them to use. They can drink the tea freely, and it's going to help with sleep and to help with the fever. So our son, he does have, if praise God, we've prayed and we haven't gotten that. We've prayed that thing. We've prayed him up so much, he usually gets febrile seizures. One way to help keep down the fever and is drinking catnip tea, and it also helps him rest. So that's something you can do. Now, again, this is not talking about the seizure in itself. It's talking about the fever when it gets too high, it can cause seizures. So that's a difference. I want to make sure that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying use this for seizures in and of itself. I'm saying the fever, it helps to prevent the seizures for him, febrile seizures. So you can use that internally for taking, usually the average ratio is 1 teaspoon of herb to 1 cup of water. So that's your average, right? With leaves, you want to steep them. So you want to steep leaves for at least about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the leaf. And you just want to, so you boil some water and then you pour the boiling water. After you boil it and turn off the heat, you pour the boiling water over that herb if it's a leaf, like leaves and stems, those kind of things, the lighter herbs. Ginkgo biloba, that's how you would make it also. And you could take, by the way, you could take this in capsule form. It doesn't have to be in tea. I like tea just because, something comforting, but also the liquid goes quickly, absorbs quickly in the body. So I like liquid forms of what I need. But if I know I need large quantities over time, then it may be better to get a capsule. It's easier to do, that way. But depending what you're doing. So that's catnip. For those who don't mind it, you can do catnip enemas. That's really good for fevers also. It's going to bring down a fever very quickly. There was a time with my son when he was younger, where we don't do enemas like that, but his fever, I did hydrotherapy. I mean, I could not get that thing down. So we had to do some catnip. We made a little bit of catnip tea, and this is a really good tea for enemas. We made a catnip tea. We just put it in one of those syringes, like those syringe, about 2 ounces, I think it was. And of course, the tea is cooled down. It's not hot, right? Making sure that's clear. So you put it within like an enema, keep on his diaper. And eventually, like 5 minutes later, he just really, a couple minutes later, that came back out. And a couple minutes after that, more came out, and then the fever was quickly going down. Because I told my wife, if we can't get this down, we got to go to the hospital because we're trying everything else. So praise God for that. We never had to do that again. Hydrotherapy and other things that usually work, but that day was very stubborn. So I just want to share that little tidbit with you. You never know where you'll find yourself, so I want to make sure you have as much as information as you can. So that's the catnip there. The other one here that I have that I want to share with you is plantain. This is plantain leaf. You could get plantain leaf. Usually it's growing wild, and I wish I had a picture other than the dry ones to show you. But all these that I'm saying, go look them up and see how they look. You may be surprised. They may be right where you are. A lot of the things that we need is in our backyard. It's close to where we are in some field or in some meadow. There's amazing remedies God has made all over this earth, and He made it just for you. I want you to remember that too. So plantain leaf is really good for skin issues in general. Any really eczema, psoriasis, of course. Now, anytime you're dealing with skin issues like that, other than direct rashes that you got from something external, a bite, poison ivy, usually you want to take care of the internal to help the external. I hope that makes sense to you. So, but nonetheless, while you take care of the internal, while you're putting the right things in the mouth and anti-inflammatory foods, you do want to, you can use this. Again, doing the same thing, putting this in some oil, putting this in some olive oil, even castor oil, letting that steep 4 to 6 weeks. And you can make yourself a good liniment, right? And that's going to be good for skin rashes. That's going to be good for like psoriasis. That's going to be good for, yeah, just skin eruptions, depending on what's going on with that eruption. It's good to know what's causing this. Always good to reason from cause to effect. So this is another thing you can use, plantain leaf, skin irritations. Plantain is the way to go. Skin, skin, skin. Remember that. Really good way to go. So that's how you can use that. You can take it internally too. Now you don't want to take it too long internally. There is some conflicting things about plantain leaf internally, and some who say, hey, I have no problem. I've been taking it, and then so I leave that with you, but I do use this externally as needed. It's good for wounds. If you have a wound, you can make the tea and wash the tea, wash the wound out with the tea. It's going to be very septic. It helps with the wound care. So it's just good to put over the wound. So that's plantain leaf. So much more can be said for that. Ulcers also internally, plantain leaf is good for tissue. So tissue related problems, internal also. So that's plantain leaf. The next one we have is hawthorn berries, and I'm just mentioning this one because this one is good for the heart. But again, anytime you're dealing with the heart, you have to go back to the root cause. What's going on with the heart? If the person had a heart issue before, hawthorn berries, what it does is it strengthens the heart muscle especially. It helps with the blood vessels in the heart, coronary arteries. So hawthorn berries are the way to go. Now, hawthorn berries does take a little bit of time. You will have to be consistent in making the berries because it's hard. If you can see some of those berries in there, right? If you can see some of those berries, that's how it looks. Might not be focusing well, but that's how it looks right there. So if you're making the berries, then you do want to let that simmer for 15 to 20 minutes. So you put the water to boil. While then you turn it down to a simmer, 15 to 20 minutes, you're boiling this, and then just turn off. You can let that cool down and drink that. You want to drink it daily. That's how you're going to take this for the heart. This is a daily thing. Now, anytime you're dealing with these things, I'm going to just share with you. Please consult with your physician, especially if you're on certain medications. It's good to know, is this going to interact? So consult with your physician because I don't know what things you're on. I don't know what you're dealing with. So always talk to your doctor. Let him know the changes you're making, and that way you'll be safe. Okay. So this is hawthorn berries, and you're going to use that for the heart, and it's going to strengthen other vessels too, blood vessels. So it's really good for the cardiovascular system, and I think that's a better way to put that. Really good for the cardiovascular system, just especially the heart muscle. So that's what you want to do. One that I really like a lot is calendula. I remember we talked about the plantain. I made a salve using calendula and plantain and then comfrey. We're going to talk about the comfrey shortly. But I made pick this up. I made a salve making those three. And that was really good. I was making lip balms actually when I did it. When I made the ointment, the oil, I decided, you know what? I have this oil. Why not make a salve from it? And then instead of a salve, because it was around Christmas time, I decided to just bless some people with lip balms. I had the little lip balm making kit thing. So I said, why not? So I made them, and this one lady came back and she told me, man, what was in that balm? So I just say, well, why? I told her the ingredients. I say, why? She says, because I had a cold sore and I couldn't get rid of that thing. And it always comes back, but I had this cold sore. And since I've been using your lip balm, it totally healed. I don't even have the cold sore, right? And it healed her lips. She had the little, of course, cracked lips, but other tears, little tissue damage below the lip. So she started to use that more than just for lip balm. If she have a skin thing, if she had something going on or some rash, she tell me she would just put that right on the rash because it's good for the skin, right? Calendula is really good for skin issues or rashes. Similar to plantain. It's good for wounds. That's another thing for it. The oil, if you make calendula oil, you can rub that over cuts, bruises. That's going to be really good for it also. So, and oh, I should show you. I like, and you can see this is just the calendula um, flowers, right? The calendula flowers. So I wish you could smell that too. I just love calendula. So that's the calendula. You can use it. Some people do it internally too. They do make that. I like it, especially externally. Internally, I think that some of the things individuals use that for would be similar to what we talked about with um, stomach digestive related issues. It's been known to speed up wounds, but I find that's more external. And they may be more internal, but I don't use it a lot internal, so I'm not as knowledgeable about internal uses as I am the external and very beneficial application of this. So that's calendula. And next one that this is a staple. This is lemongrass. This is it here too, if you can see that. This is lemongrass. We call it in St. Croix. I'm from St. Croix, Virgin Islands, as you heard. And if you go to St. Croix and you go to somebody's house, more than likely, or you go to some event, right? Especially like exercise events, marathons, triathlons, walks for cancer, you're going to get lemongrass tea. St. Croix is just, we're big on that. We drink lots of lemongrass tea. So if somebody say bush tea and you're in St. Croix and they say bush tea, now, bush tea means, of course, any kind of bush tea, but specifically in St. Croix, usually 9 out of 10 cases in St. Croix, they're talking about lemongrass tea, bush tea. So if you want, you could just use this. This is very, very good for flus and colds and fevers. This is what we use too in the islands. If somebody has a cold or a flu, if they're having a fever, they let them drink this freely, lemongrass tea. And it's really good for the kidneys too. If you're dealing with kidney stones, you can do lemongrass tea. 4 cups of the lemongrass tea, right? So 1 teaspoon per cup. So that's 4 teaspoons or a tablespoon and a teaspoon of lemongrass in 4 cups of water. You just steep that 30 minutes and you have yourself some lemongrass tea. It's so delicious, good for to help with the stomach. But the strongest part of this is the immune system. It's really good for the immune system to help with white blood cell activation. So that's the lemongrass. And it's just pleasant. If you ever just Sometimes, honestly, I just break this thing up and like rub it over me just so I could smell it through the day because I love to smell lemongrass. But I'm biased because I grew up with it. So that's how you use lemongrass tea. You can make it as an infusion. Infusion is using this and steeping it. That's an infusion. So that's what you can use that for. So really good one. One that's definitely needing to mention is this one. This is echinacea. All right. So you can see that if that's clearer. Yeah. So that's echinacea. And that is one that's very good also for the immune system. We've been talking about the immune. You really want to add this to your repertoire of things for the immune. I just don't want to forget. Remind me to talk to you about pine needles, okay? Because things come on my mind and then it could just slip. I want to remind you about pine needles, but this is good for your immune system. Echinacea is awesome for ailments. It's actually in the same bracket and in strength when it comes to as antibiotic. It's a good antibiotic. If you've been looking for an antibiotic to use, then you can use echinacea. It's in the same category with red clover from that standpoint, profile standpoint with as an antibiotic. Blood cleanser, blood purifier, good for the liver, good for the immune system in general. If you're looking to help your lymphatic system, you're dealing with lymphatic problems or lymphatic cancers, you have to include echinacea in there because it's good to help cleanse the lymphatic system and boost the immune system, right? So that's echinacea. Another thing echinacea is really good for. Um, it would be well, generally, I guess cancers. Cancer is a beautiful thing. Well, cancer is not a beautiful thing, but it's beautiful for cancer. You want to include that in there. So it's a powerful herb when it comes to that also. So add that to it. You could buy the tincture, you can buy the herb itself and make the tea. The root is really the strongest I found in research. The root, echinacea root is strong. Usually, if you go to a herbal store and you see echinacea, usually you will see echinacea and something called golden seal. And golden seal is an amazing herb all by itself. It's usually sells for $100 a pound, probably more now. That was like a year or two ago. I'm pretty sure it's more now, 120, I'm sure. But it's expensive because it's worth its part in gold, right? It's golden seal. And they add them together because golden seal, when it's added to another herb, it really boosts the potential of that herb. So echinacea is amazing. When you put golden seal with echinacea, not even just talking about the golden seal itself, separate from the effects, the blessings of golden seal, the benefits of it, the golden seal will boost the immune modulating effects and boosting effects of the echinacea, so it'll be amplified. I hope that makes sense. So that's why they like to put those two together, along with the fact that golden seal itself is just amazing for the immune system. Golden seal has berberine. Berberine is a good compound in golden seal, and there's some other thing I believe that it helps with lowering your blood sugar. So people with hyperglycemia, berberine is good for that. That's found in golden seal. So that those two together, you have a duo for when you have a cancer or you have a immune related issue. You don't want to take this for too long if you have an autoimmune disease, right? So 1 week at a time, and then you want to kind of stop it. You got to be careful with autoimmune diseases, boosting too much. Of course, because autoimmune, right? You're increasing the attacking of the immune systems on yourself. So you do want to be careful. It's not that you can't per se, you just got to be cautious. Don't wouldn't use it more than a week. And even then, there's some other things to consider from a, different autoimmune, different things to do and stuff like that. So that's echinacea. It's dying on me because I plucked it. It's starting to look sad, but it's still a blessing. So the next one I want to talk about is mullein. Some people call it mullein, and if you could feel this, it is so soft, right? It is super soft. It's all if you put these together, and mullein, this is just a small leaf. Mullein grows really huge, the leaf, and you could put leaves together in a pillow. If you put enough leaves in there, man, you're sleeping on something that's greater than any pillow you bought. It is so soft to sleep on, and if you could feel this. It's almost like toilet paper or something, but don't get any ideas. But mullein is really good for lung-related issues. One of the top herbs for lungs, asthma, pneumonia, bronchitis. Right. So mullein, you want to drink that tea. Now mullein, how it grows when it grows, you want to, especially depending on the size of your mullein. Mullein has a stem that comes all the way up. It's good to let that go to seed and then wait for the next year to harvest it. This kind of, biannual harvest is the optimal for mullein. So it's good to have different mullein plants, so therefore you can always have options of always getting it. So it's just more optimum, not like I can't at all. It's just, hey, I want the freshest, best that I can, then that's what you want to do. But getting the mullein leaves like this is going to be awesome for your lungs. It's going to be awesome for sore throats, congestion of the nasal passages or the bronchioles, of any type, respiratory congestion of any type, upper or lower. You're going to want to add mullein to that 100%. So again, you just steep in it, treating it like a tea, and then you can have your mullein just like that. And just enjoy keep touching it. You're going to do this if you ever touch this thing, I guarantee you. So that's mullein. And I want you to think about how good God is when you have these things, right? All these different components, all these varieties, and it was made for you. God thought about you when he made these. Unless somebody want to say, oh, that's coincidence, that it just happened to have everything that man needs created, designed, packaged in this leaf just for him. No, that's design, and that's a merciful Savior who said, I know what's going to happen. I know the diseases that's going to come upon the world, and I want to bless my people. So this is for you. The next one we're going to discuss is comfrey. Some of you may have heard of comfrey. This one is called knit bone. And you can see the leaves of this thing is big. And basically, what you want to do for comfrey, using this thing for like fractures or wounds, you just want to, you can put this in a food processor and you just pulse it. Zit, 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 zit. You just want to cut it up. You can add a little bit of flaxseed to that if you want, with just a little bit of water, just to make a poultice. Remember, we talked about poultices last time. For those who are here for the first time, what a poultice is the application, the cut up portion of some herb or substance, depending on what it is, and you crush it and you put that fibrous or whatever that poultice may be, whatever object that may be, herbal plant that may be, you put that in a paper towel or a chuck's pad, you cover it, and you put that over the area that's in need. So let's say that I had a bad wound right here, or right here, somewhere here, right? I had a bad wound. Then I could put comfrey, chop it up, make sure it's clean and washed, and I could put that right over the wound. It's a cell proliferator, and I think it's the allotonin, I believe is the word, the compound in the comfrey that has been seen to be a cell proliferator. So you already know you're going to heal. However, what comfrey does is it speeds up that healing process. So if it's a wound, you're going to just put the comfrey over there, put a layer between that, put the comfrey over there, and it just speeds up the wound healing process. Now, one thing you got to be careful of, let's say you have a wound with an infection, then I wouldn't want to put comfrey right over it. Why? Because if I put comfrey over the wound with the infection, yes, it's gonna heal the wound, and this has happened, friends, and it's going to heal the wound beautifully, but you've just healed in the infection. So you first have to make sure the infection is dealt with while the wound is open, so that then you can heal the wound. So the first thing you want to do is clean out the wound internally, right? Remember some things we shared last time to help with wound care. Of course, still going to your doctor, making sure it's working, getting that checkup. We want to do things intelligently. But comfrey is good for that. Also, again, if you had a fracture, right, after getting it checked out, some fractures the doctor's not going to do much with it. Like for instance, if you mess up your pinky toe or get a little fracture there, then what's going to happen? They usually just parenting on or couple it to the toe next to it and wrap it. So what you could do for that, right? Because that's 99% of the time that's what they're going to do, right? And to some things, there's not much to do, especially depending on the type of fracture. They're gonna just let it kind of heal back. So you can put comfrey over that. And comfrey is called again knit bone. It's going to knit it back and in a much quicker way. And I love this part about comfrey. It doesn't just heal, it helps with the pain. It's a good pain reliever. So it's been good with pain when it comes to like bone pain and some others. In some studies, well, it's one thing to say studies. Studies show that it's not the best for like back pain and stuff, but that studies when you do it topically with individuals and you make poultices, they put it on their back or they put it on shoulder pain. I've seen individuals get great relief. You can make a salve from this, like we talked about, steeping this in the hot water in the oil with a double boiler. So a water source, a water pot, boiling water, and then another pot on top of that that has oil in the top pot. And you put the comfrey, cut up the comfrey, put it in that oil, and let that water, heat up the oil. So it's going to be there for, doing it that way, you're going to have to keep it on for about 3 hours. And then you have yourself a nice comfrey poultice, right? I mean, a comfrey ointment. You got to strain it off. And you can use that ointment over the shoulder or over the skin, over the elbow, wherever there's pain and there's needing to be healing, you can put that oil over it. So that's one way to use comfrey. Some people have used this after they got like car accidents and fractures or broken bones. They have used it internally. Now it is toxic to the liver. However, studies kind of show it takes a good amount for that to happen. And there's many individual testimonies people who drank that for weeks when they had a car accident to help them, one, with the pain and also with the quickness of the healing. And great reports of the Dr. Amaze cutting the healing time in half for fractures and broken bones. Many great testimonies. Now, I do say be careful, right? Because it can affect the liver. You want to be careful. You want to take breaks on it if you're going to choose to take it. Everybody has that choice, but I did want to just let you know that it can affect the liver, so you make that choice. Yep. So that's comfrey knit bone. So another one that's as we start to kind of we're going to start to wrap up with just two more. And this is just in a bag. I know you can't tell what it is, but I shared it with somebody recent. That's why it's here. I give them the good bag and I just kept some for myself. This is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is a herb that is good for stress, anxiety. Ashwagandha about 200 to 300 milligrams is going to be the amount that usually is recommended to take for anxiety and stress related issues. Now, of course, with stress and things, always get to the root of the problem. Stress is a whole nother topic in and of itself, and some beautiful studies that showing the positive side of stress. We always think of it just as negative, but there's so much positive there when God allowed stress to be a part of our response. But there's caveats to the why it becomes, what makes it become harmful. That's a different story. So, but this is ashwagandha, 200 to 300 milligrams a day. Now, you do want to back off after a couple of weeks of it, 2, 3 weeks of it. You could back off and then go back on after a week or so. And you don't want to take it first thing in the morning, right? And one of the reasons being because if you're dealing with, let's say you're dealing with like we say, anxiety, and you need to kind of calm down. It's going to buffer the cortisol, right? That's one of the ways that it works to the adrenals, buffering cortisol levels in the body. Now, when I'm just waking up, in order to wake up, the body's going to release the hormone cortisol. So that's part of helping me wake up, right? So as cortisol is released more and more and more as you get towards sunrise, between 6 and 8, then it's going to have higher cortisols in the body. Now, if I take this first thing upon waking up, what do I do to my cortisol? I buffer it. So that means you don't really want to do that first thing in the morning. You want to wait till a little later in the morning, because sometimes some people have an effect of it and they say, oh, it don't work for me. I felt more depressed or I felt more whatever because you take it a little too early because of its mechanism of action, right? So it's good to take it a little later in the morning if you're going to take it, or in the afternoon, especially, afternoon, but no earlier than, like I would say, about 11 or so, 10, 11, depending on your schedule, wake up time, all those things. If you're waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, then that's different than waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? Or 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever, depending on that's your schedule. So that's how you want to take ashwagandha, and it's going to really just help with the stress. There is some hormones in ashwagandha that's also helpful for people who are exercising. So I want to just give you that little tidbit too. But it could be counterproductive to be taking it when you're going to exercise because remember we're lowering down cortisol, and you when you exercise you're increasing those things to help pump you up and motivate you. So you don't want to take that down too much if you're going to go to get exercise. So yeah, those little caveats as you work with your circadian rhythm and taking ashwagandha, but it's really good to just de-stress and help you get through your day, especially if you know you're going to have a huge thing that day, whether it's a huge exam or a huge meeting, whatever it is, then that's the day that for sure you want to include it. And it works that day. So that's a good thing. It doesn't need to build up, build up, build up. It's very useful for the time that you take it. The last one we're going to do here is going to be nettle. I saved the best for last because of my personal testimony with nettle leaf. Some of you may know nettle. It's also known as stinging nettle, right? So if you could see that, stinging nettle. I don't know if you could see that. It's a little dark. But anyway, so that's the nettle leaf right there. And the stinging nettle, it is high in minerals. People with anemia, you could drink, you want to drink this tea. It's going to help with anemia. When my wife had anemia from pregnancy, that's something we did also, part of another whole protocol to help build back up her iron because she needed a transfusion and we were trying to avoid that. But nettle leaf is good for that. It's good for people with anemia, to bring it back up. It's also going to be very good for allergies if you're facing allergies, because it's natural antihistamines in here, packed with antihistamines. So nettle is going to help with the blood. It's going to be a blood cleanser, blood builder, and it's going to help with the antihistamines. And the beautiful thing with the allergies is because it's also a slightly diuretic, right? So it's because it's slightly diuretic. When I take nettle internally, let's say I have allergies. If I have an allergic reaction, I release histamines in my body through some of the white blood cells. That's going to release histamine as a means to actually try to help you. But then you have these symptoms, itching and all these things, eyes red and all those things. Then taking nettle, what it does is the antihistamines prevent more histamines from being released, number one. Number two, the diuretic effect of the nettle is going to help flush out the histamines that's running through your body. So that's why when you take nettle, you're going to increase your urination, just like dandelion is going to increase urination, because it makes you go to the bathroom more, right? Because it's a diuretic. So the same thing with this, and that's what you want in a histamine problem, in an allergic response. You want to flush out those histamines out of the body, which you urinate out. So that's good for his allergies. Now, when my allergies were bad when I was living in Maine and I was cold, affected by cold, it's called cold urticaria. I was affected by the cold, and you can kind of see even now my hand, my middle finger here is slightly bent from all the inflammation in my joints. When I start to get this allergic reaction, I would be inflamed. This is what I used to help me tremendously with the allergy. Now, I did have to take it for a while. I did add also quercetin. I looked for quercetin capsules with bromelain. I took that, about 200 milligrams. Um, and then also I did high onions because onions are high in quercetins. Onions help clean the blood, which is going to clean from the histamines also. So when I was doing that compound of stuff, tea, quercetin capsules, and a lot of onion tea, making boiling some onion, simmering it, drinking that freely. When I was doing that, I started, it helped tremendously in a couple of days. I think it took like 1, 2, 3 days or so before I start seeing results. But after I did that, I did not have those allergy problems. And then as I let the nettle build up, I cut down I stopped taking the pills, stopped taking the onion tea, and then I just took nettles for a while. The nettles that I did though, remember you're dealing with an allergic response. So I did 4 cups of nettle a day. So that's going to be about a teaspoon for every cup, okay? So just want to share that with you. And that's good for allergies. It's also good for the hair, for ladies or men. If you want to just help with the hair, those who have it still, you could just make a tea, a light tea, in this, just as you would in make a tea to drink. And you could put it in a spray bottle and you spray it all over your hair. It strengthens the hair follicles, right? So it's a good way to strengthen hair. Even up to older hair, older age, it's good to still do. Even if it's gray now, it's going to strengthen those follicles. So there's not as much falling out of the hair and things like that. So that's good. And taking it internally too is going to be good for the hair. So that's the herbal remedies. I pray it was a blessing. That's the ones that I just could bring, and I hope that that was a blessing. So let me know if you have any questions. I don't know if I should. The next step, I'll leave it to the moderator with a thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, Hewlett. That was a lot of information, really informative. I know some of us here in the Bahamas use some of those herbs that you talk about, the catnip and fever grass. We call it fever
Hmm.
grass. You guys call it lemongrass over there. And so we are familiar with some of those, but I like the fact that you said we have to be responsible, maybe do a week of herbs and then 21 days. You don't just want to take those herbs daily.
Hmm.
If there are any questions, we are inviting persons at this time to put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we would acknowledge you and open your mic so that you can ask Mr. Hewlett your question. Also, persons who are interested in getting a notification for this public health lecture, send us a WhatsApp at 828-8486, or you can put your number in the chat. So let me look in the chat at this time and see if there are any questions. I didn't see anything coming earlier. Someone mentioned they wanted you to talk about cancer cures of sugar apple, papaya, and soursop. I don't know.
Okay, well, I
Talk
guess
about.
all I would mention with that
Mhm.
is more. Well, let's just kind of focus on the soursop leaves, sugar apple and papaya. Papaya, enzyme wise, is going to be good for digestive issues. The seeds for parasites. However, I'm not too knowledgeable for using it just for as a specifically to help with cancer in such a beneficial way worth mentioning, like, oh, for sure it's going to do this. I don't know if it'll papaya or the sugar apple will do. And I mean, actually, if you're dealing with cancer, if you're talking about the leaves, I guess you're talking about the leaves of some of these things, and it's going to be helpful for the blood. Anything you do to help the blood, I want to make that clear, you're doing to help any ailment you're dealing with. It doesn't matter the disease. Perfect health requires perfect circulation. The blood needs to be in optimum health for the body to be in optimum health. So through that portal, then you can see things like the leaves of the papaya and I never knew about the sugar apple. I like sugar apple, the fruit. I never knew about that, the leaves of it or anything being used for anything medicinally. But the papaya leaves, I know they use that for like dengue fever and it's good also for the blood, but you just need a very small amount, you know. I mean, like half a teaspoon. You don't need a lot. But for sure, the soursop, or it's called graviola, another name for that, is going to be useful for cancer, using the leaves for cancer, especially uh, um, I'm so sorry, it slipped my mind. But if it comes back to me, I'll splurt it out. But there's specific cancers. While it does help in general, it's specific cancers. But also keep in mind that it is quite a sedative. So some people may actually get a little sleepy doing soursop leaves. They used to give it in our island in St. Croix. They give it to some of the children to uh, knock them out a little earlier than planned so the parents could be up or get to bed, get some sleep. But yeah, so you could use the leaves for soursop. We use it here at Uchi Pines, by the way, in part of our herbal teas for cancers. So you can use it for that. So I hope that kind of helps.
Right. So someone is asking about the recording. The recording will be on Facebook. It's actually on live, Facebook Live at this time. It will also go on our YouTube channel. There's a statement. How effective is lemon water? There's a lot of hype about lemon and
hmm
water. Talk about that for us, please.
Yeah. So you lemon water is a very good substitute than all the hype for these alkaline waters. Your body is going to try to stay alkaline. You have to be in acidosis or some kind of real bad problem. If your body is not balanced, you would be in the hospital. You know what I'm saying? So your body's going to keep its pH as much as it's doing it now. As you and I speak, through salts and electrolytes and all these osmosis processes in the body, it's keeping us at a balance where the body wants to be. So I'm just sharing that. Now, on what you could do, bringing it into the lemon water, is drinking your lemon water. Now, lemon water is a very good blood cleanser. People who can do well with lemon water, especially, is people who deal with arthritic problems. Arthritis is an umbrella term, right? You have osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis. So you have different arthritic conditions, but arthritis in general, lemon water is very beneficial to take for that. So it's going to help with colds, flus. Um, uh, just increasing, helping the immune system. Limonene in the lemon, especially the skin, is where it has very strong immune boosting properties. So I know a lot of times we don't do it, but you can use that in your cooking. Now, the only thing is if you're going to use lemon in any way for cooking or heating, remember that vitamin C and some of these compounds are heat sensitive, right? Up to I think it's what some of them 70, 80 degrees, it starts to get unstable. So you don't want to heat that up too much. I know people say put some tea and then put some lemon water in there. You don't want to do it too much. It's going to start coming destabilized and you don't get as much of the potential strength as you could if you do it in just warm water or something. So it's very beneficial to use. It's good to break up stones. Some people use that for that. There's some things more effective, but yes. So you could use it's just very beneficial overall. But like anything else, I'll tell you, it's not a desperate need if you're getting your water intake. Like I just want people to know you don't have to subsist on these things, or I have to get my lemon water in. But it is very beneficial to cleanse the body. So it's a good thing to have for sure. Nothing's wrong with having lemon water.
Okay, if someone cannot find Horton berry, is there a substitute that they can use?
Uh,
The
so
fresh. Mhm.
Yep. So if you're having some hard situations, I think the first thing to keep in mind is hydration. And I say that because you want to make sure your blood is thin. You know, people go on blood thinners after certain problems with the heart. You want to make sure your blood is thin. Water is the best blood thinner. So first, I would say make sure your water intake is on point. Half your body weight in ounces of water is how much you need a day, approximately. Then I would say you can, if you need it, maybe you want to talk to your doctor and just be sure. But things like CoQ10 is really good for the heart. Again, this is if you have a heart situation, it's good to know what exactly happened, what heart condition we're talking about. But CoQ10 is kind of specific, but CoQ10 to about 200 milligrams is something we use here also. And that's something you could try also. But I would definitely consult and see, do I have to? I think we put ourselves on stuff that we sometimes don't have to. And then lastly, not lastly, but I would say diet, right? When you eat your greens, especially your greens, your beets, those things are gonna strengthen the heart muscle itself. So your daily consumption of those foods are gonna help overall.
Okay. Hot and berry tea bags and also the supplements, you can get them from Better
Oh,
Living.
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Better Living or Healthy Lifestyle in Delhi on East Street. Of course, the recording will be available on Facebook and also on YouTube. Someone is asking about what is recommended for menopause, specifically hot flashes. We didn't talk about that today, but do you have any herbs or that?
Um, yeah, so getting the hormone in balance, understanding we do have I wanted to mention too, and I know nobody, not that the person said this, but even with fibroids, if you go to I want to put this in because they kind of have this already formulated. I'm just going to put it in the chat. Country, what am I doing? Life Store, Columbus. So this is Country Life Store, Columbus, Georgia. If you go on the website, if you just type that in Google, Country Life Store, Columbus, Georgia, that's the only one in Columbus. You're going to see that they actually have formulas for that already made. It's called hormonal balance. You can even call them. Go on the website, Country Life Store. Just type that in. You'll see the website. You click it. And we have a number there. You can call them. They're going to help you tremendously with that. You're going to get even more information than I'll give you, to be honest with you. Plus, they have what's called a hormonal balance. They already have specific herbs that all helps with that exact thing. So, and it also helps with fibroids. We've used that very beneficially for fibroids. So that's what I would recommend. I want to say just go there and you're going to get really good help as it relates to women issues in general.
Okay, very good. How early should you give children catnip if you want them to go to sleep a little earlier?
Sorry, but yep. Is the question about like what time in the day kind of deal?
Yes, how early would you recommend giving
Oh, I
children?
see. Yeah. So it's good to know with each, herbs really are affected by different things in different children. So it's good to do kind of a test, a good time period for giving them before bed. If we're talking early in that way, then I would say about an hour before bed. You don't want to do it too early because then liquids too, right? And depending on the child and pee in the bed. I don't know how old this child is. So that's one. Number two, you do want to give it time to work also. It's not like they drink it and then they drop. So it does need some time to metabolize and get into the system. So I would say about an hour before bed is a good rule of thumb.
Okay.
And then have them sip that, 1 teaspoon, and you see how they are. A child that's a little older could handle more. And also, it's not just about the catnip tea, it's also stimulation. You don't want the child to be having a lot of light in the room. White light, those bright light bulbs, is also going to suppress melatonin in that from forming in the brain. So therefore, it's not going to help with the onset of sleep. So if you're trying to get your child or yourself to sleep earlier, then you want to take away everything stimulating from the body, so nothing stimulating mentally or to the nerves physically. Then you also want to lower lights. And that's when, and have a routine. The best thing to help children who have a hard time is get them on a regular routine. You'll actually help their body get used to going to sleep at that specific time, where no matter where you are, their body, once that time comes, they get sleepy already. So I would say an hour before bed, doing those other things to help aid that situation.
Okay, someone's asking about beets juice. I think that's the beetroot. They were
Hmm.
told that it helps with blood circulation. Beetroot.
Yep.
Beet.
So basically yeah, so beetroot does help. I mean, the nitric oxide in beetroot is what specifically, along with other compounds, it's not usually just one thing when God put things together, but the nitric oxide is a big part of that that's going to dilate blood vessels and help to get the blood going, if I understood that question correctly.
Yes. Okay, you're being we're reminding you to talk about pine needle.
Oh, the
Gentle reminder.
simplicity. Thank you so much. The simple thing about pine needles is it's such a, if you're living in a state that has pine needles, and I wanted to bring one so I can show you. It's a pine needle that when you pluck it, at the stem of it, there's five needles and they're green. And that's kind of how you know you have the right pine needle. Um, but you have the pine needle, it's green, five needles is coming out of it. You can steep that in some water, and that is tremendous for your immune system. It's good for, I mean, that's what the Indians used to help when they first came here, like Columbus and others, in the time of scurvy, when they were having scurvy, which is really vitamin C deficiency. Then they were just giving them pine needle tea, if you study the history with that, and that helped them. That's all they did. So that says a lot about pine needle in itself. But the articles show that pine needle tea is great for your immune system. No known side effects from a liver or a spleen standpoint. So but you do take it, and well, like we said, with all things, you keep that in mind with your physician, what things you may be taking, but it hasn't been shown really to interfere with a lot. So, or that I've seen at least in the research. So that's something you could use it for, immune boosting tremendously.
Okay, is there a herb for stomach bloating?
Stomach bloating first, I want to find out, am I eating between meals? If I'm eating between meals, and I'm going to get more bloating. If I'm drinking a lot from straws, then I could get more bloating. So first, just finding that cause, so I could stop that. And the second thing is that so charcoal, to me, one of the best is taking some charcoal capsules or the powder, and that helps tremendously with bloating and any other discomfort with the digestive system at the time of bloating. So that's what I would say. The second one after charcoal would be ginger, would be the next tea I would use
Mhm.
to help with that feeling of bloating.
Yes. Okay. How can you use castor oil? Can it be used topically?
Yep, you can use castor oil topically, and it's depending on why are you using it, but it's usually used if there is whether it's a hard tumor. Now, of course, when every time we get into a tumor or something, you want to be careful. Get help with that. Make sure you're doing things right, but be used over a tumor where it's going to help soften it and just help the body deal with it, depending on the size. Castor oil penetrates deeply, so you can use it over the digestive system with digestive issues, just putting it on topically. I'm doing it here because you can't see my abdomen, but just imagine this is my abdomen. You're just rubbing it on, or the best way is really making castor oil packs, putting it on a cloth, old t-shirt, and just putting that over the abdomen, wrapping that with plastic so it doesn't stain anything or getting anything, and it stays in place. And that's going to help with peristalsis motion with your um, digestive process to move things along. It's going to help with constipation, doing it topically like that. It's going to help with, if there's pain in an area, castor oil helps with that too. So that's some of the uses of castor oil topically.
Okay, it's just a statement. Great presentation. Is there any natural medicine for low platelets?
Low platelets. I think that's what, and I might be confusing this. So is it that the, what is that called? Papaya leaf, I think that raises the platelets, if I remember correctly. But I want to make sure I'm not confusing that it lowers. I know with dengue, I felt like it lowered, so papaya leaves was used to help raise it back. But let me try to remember that. And nothing else comes to my mind. I know exercise, by the way. When you exercise, you help platelets. From a coming straight to my mind right now. I can't think of something, though I know after I'm done with this, it's going to hit me. But unfortunately, I can't think of something else right now.
Okay. Here's another question. I learned that some medication we take for diabetes and hypertension depletes CoQ10. What,
Yeah.
what's your
Oh,
take on this?
yeah, exactly. That and it's true that some do deplete CoQ10 in the body. Some statins, also is going to do something similar. Um, so yeah, so it's a true statement that some does. I guess if that's what the person is asking, and that's why it's really, that's why you really want to try your best to, as much as possible, work with your doctor in coming off of these medications because they're helping with one thing, but oftentimes you're creating another situation and another issue. So you really want to work with your doctor of coming off and switching to something that's natural, especially the diet, the lifestyle, exercise, especially for these two, diabetes and hypertension, stress as it relates to hypertension, along with lifestyle, things you eat, drinking, yeah, and as needed, supplement with CoQ10 itself. So like with statins, sometimes they give you CoQ10 with it because of its known cause to do so. So you have the same thing with some of these other medications. I didn't know too much about diabetes doing it, but hypertension, yes, some hypertensive medication. Um, so yes, I hope that answers the question if it's a
Okay, just two more. I think this is pertaining to catnip. Can catnip be used for colic in babies? These are infants.
Okay, yeah. I don't like to give infants things that I'm not sure about. So I don't know about giving infants tea, especially infant talking. What has been safe, to give an infant from a colic standpoint. One, let the mother of the infant, if you're breastfeeding, let them drink dill tea. So if they drink some dill tea, it's going to help the baby. That's number one. Number two, infants is a kind of a range. So so my 1 year old, like if she has colic, we just do a very weak charcoal slurry. And that's where you put charcoal water. No, you don't want to give water itself to a child. But if you put like a teaspoon of charcoal in like 6 to 8, well, I would say maybe even 8 to 10 ounces of water. You put the teaspoon of charcoal in there, you let that sit for an hour or two or a little bit more. You're going to see it separate. And on the bottom, you're going to have charcoal powder. And at the top, you're going to have this uh, light gray liquid. And that light gray liquid is what you want to just give a little bit of sips of the baby to. You can do that safely, and that helps tremendously with colic.
Okay. Can nettle, Nettle, be given to children who present symptoms of allergies? And where can this be found?
Netto is going to be found, first, let me go backwards. It's going to be found different health food stores. The same Country Life store I told you about, they ship. So if you want a some herb or something that we talked about, supplement, they sell supplements there and they ship it to you. So if you wanted to support the cause, just putting that out there, you can call them. That's one area to get it, or you can go online trying to get it from Frontier is another herbal place that you can get that, or Better Living, depending those things. Can it be given to children for allergies? Yes, it can. Now, children, I get my 4 year old, Zion, I give him some of that tea. Now he doesn't have allergies. I just give him some here and there because it's so packed with the minerals. So it's just a good thing for him to drink, get some extra minerals and stuff. Um, so yeah, and so that yeah, I hope that works.
Okay, here's
Yeah.
another question here about melatonin. How long should you use it to
I
use
actually
melatonin?
don't recommend taking melatonin too long, if at all. And I'm not saying at all. You want to use very low doses. The doses of melatonin that they put on the shelves is not even the amount your body creates for melatonin to make you sleep at night, right? So you don't want to do a lot of melatonin. You really want to figure out, first of all, what's going on with my circadian rhythm, what's going on with my body. And that's more where I would start the conversation than starting it with the melatonin. I could answer the question by saying, nothing, not even herbs, should be have to be used for long. Now, maybe you may have to use it for a month or something, or I don't know if you're depending on what's going on. If you're flying or traveling through time zones, then melatonin is very useful, like for that kind of thing to just kind of help your body. Melatonin is the trumpet sound that tells your body it's time for sleep. It doesn't actually cause you to sleep. It just tells your body the signal that says, hey, it's time for sleep. And then things happen in the body for sleep. So melatonin is more of the trumpet alert. So without the trumpet, like the Bible says, if the trumpet doesn't give a certain sound, the righteous doesn't know what to do. If the melatonin doesn't give the sound, it doesn't know what to do. So you want to use it at specific times. And some people, they get kind of they take melatonin and they even get more alert, right? And usually the reason is because they take too much, right? Because you really don't need a lot. I think it's what, three, I believe is just all you need. Is it micrograms or something like that that you just need? I forget the unit for melatonin, but just about three. If so much, you really don't need a lot. So what I recommend instead is looking for some of those herbs to take the edge off, but also looking at your night routine, getting into regularity. What's keeping me up? Is it insomnia? Is it mild insomnia? Is it anxiousness? Is it a job? Is it, what I mean? Look at that because honestly, you could get off of the melatonin and save yourself some money if you figure out what's going on. But that would take more time and questions for sure.
Okay, our last three questions and statement. What's the best way to deal with IBS?
hmm So, irritable bowel syndrome, if I understand that's what is being asked.
Mhm.
Um, And really, the first thing you want to start doing is helping the stomach. And the way you want to do it is taking as much anti-inflammatory foods into your system as possible. So you want to, they've actually shown now, before they used to say be careful of fiber and those kind of stuff, you actually want to increase your fiber. And also slippery elm. We didn't talk about slippery elm, but it's one of the best herbs for any digestive issue. So you can use slippery elm and you take slippery elm powder in some water 30 minutes before your meal, 15 to 30 minutes before your meal, and that's going to help coat it. And it not just coats, but brings like healing to that lining. And it's going to help the digestive system. So I would start taking slippery elm. I would also start taking aloe separate time or same time if you want to combine them. Those two are tremendous for IBS. And then in the meantime, increasing your water intake and increasing your fiber, but see how you feel, right? Some people, as they increase it more, it may feel more aggravated. So you do want to increase it, but your body will let you know at the same time too. But definitely before every meal, you take this slippery elm, and then you could do that twice a day before breakfast, lunch, and then supper. If really you want to skip supper, if you have IBS, it's just going to give more time for the body to heal. Just for this season, I would skip the third meal and just do aloe water, right? So you could put aloe in some water, make a gel of it, or just do the gel in a blender with some water or a little bit of orange juice, as long as diabetes is not involved. And then you drink that down. That's going to be very healing for your IBS. For extra information on IBS, if you go to ugpines.org counseling sheets, you can
Mhm.
look into IBS and we have more information for you on that.
Yes. Okay. This is a statement. I gave my son the dill seed tea as a baby when he had colic, and it worked. I just
Amen.
poured it lightly. Question: is there anything for anxiety?
Yes, however, like anything else, I just have to keep prefacing this, right? Always find out what's going on, right? Why am I anxious? Is it a new job? It is I might get fired. Is it, see stress in a different light. And I mean that there's many studies I could quote right now, beautiful studies on mindset and stress. And how you perceive things becomes a huge part of anxiety. So the first thing I like to share with people now after doing the research and doing presentations on that would be change your perception. That's the first place to start. The second thing is simple as it sounds, make sure you're drinking lots of water. Dehydration actually is going to affect the brain in a greater way than we realize. That's number two. Number three, you do have like what we mentioned, ashwagandha is a good way to take the edge off. You have chamomile, those things that's going to help. You want things that's going to help kind of calm you down. St. John's Wort is a really good one. St. John Worth. That's another good one. Now, the only thing with St. John's wort to keep in mind, if you take a lot of St. John's wort, you want to be careful because it does make your skin a little sensitive to the sun. So just, cover right because some people who take St. John's wort has been found, they found that they're more sensitive to sunlight on their skin. So that's what I would say. But St. John's wort for anxiety is really good also. But the next one, one of the best ones really to help you in real time would be deep breathing, 479. That's where you breathe through your nose. Remember Jesus, God in the beginning, he breathed in man the nostrils. He breathed in him the breath of life through the nostrils. And that happens for a reason, right? You have nitric oxide, just small amounts that every time you breathe in through the nose, those nitric oxides open, dilates the bronchioles. So you deep breathe. 479, 4 seconds breathing in deep, 7 seconds holding it, and 9 seconds letting go very slowly for 9 seconds. And you repeat that, and that's going to actually bring down your stress level. It's going to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, helping your body from that fight or flight response. And it also, and the last one I'll share with you, though, of course, there's other things, but the last one I'll share with you would be muscle memory or muscle tension. And what that is it's just you tensing your muscles and relaxing it. And you're doing this, tensing it, feeling the specific muscle, doing one muscle at a time, and then relaxing it. And when you do that, it sounds weird, right? But what it does is it helps you to realize when you're in a stressful situation. Sometimes anxiety builds because we're stressed and we're going and we don't realize. And then you ever get in a situation where you realize your shoulder is so puffed up, somebody has to tell you, hey, calm down, right? Bring it down. So what you do is you purposely do this in times of relaxation. You squeeze and you let go. And there's a name for this technique, and I forgot the name, but this is pretty much what it is. And you do this from the head down to the feet. And it's a way to realize that the body is tense because when you do this, you start to realize and acknowledge more and more that tension so that when it happens, you actually see your body, your brain, because of how the brain works, is going to be, oh, you're tensing. And then you're going to be able to connect the dot. Oh, whoa, I'm tensing. Let me relax. So anxiety can build when there's not a moment of relaxation, right? So that's one thing you can do. Of course, going for walks and walks has actually been shown to do better than runs. Like there's intense running for anxiety or especially for stress. So going for some walks, breathing while you walk, reading some scripture when you walk, and praying, trusting God, holding him to his promises. Lord, I don't know how this situation is going to be, but I trust you. You said, trust not, lean not onto my own understanding. So Bible scripture also.
Okay, just a statement, and then we're gonna entertain question from the someone who's on wants to open their mic. I tried melatonin and it revved up my anxiety and I stayed
Mm.
awake all night. They tossed it in the garbage. Okay, so sometimes that happens.
Mhm.
Uh, what can be used to help with weight loss? And then we'll go to the person who's opening their mic.
Okay, well, one of the best things for weight loss is not exercise, though it's good. I'm not saying don't exercise. Walk for sure, exercise. But that your diet is going to do much more for your weight loss than anything else. So, the best thing would be to diet. When I say diet, you know what I mean? Eating high fiber foods is going to help to pull fat. Fiber binds to fat and bile in the body to pull it out. Now it's small increments, but it's still something that helps when you eat fiber, high fiber foods. So of course, your caloric intake, right? If you're having more movement and you're eating a plant-based diet, what they found was give yourself some weeks on a plant-based diet. And when I say plant-based, I mean a big part of your plate is vegetables or fruits, then another one would be different grains, not like white rice and brown rice, but like quinoa or amaranth or couscous, right? If you're going to eat grains, you want to maybe not do as much like potatoes, white potatoes, so switching it up, doing some more roots, cassava or something. But if you're doing those things and you're increasing your carbs, then you definitely do want to make sure you're walking more, you're going for more intense walks too. So walking with purpose, it's not a stroll, right? It's a walk, you're walking with purpose. So that's one of the ways. Now, another one is skipping the third meal, eating 2 meals a day. And if you're having a problem with the third meal, let's say you're hungry, then drink water, right? A lot of times we think we're hungry and we're thirsty. Another herb that's really good for suppressing the appetite and helping you is chickweed. Chickweed is something I recommended here actually that for them to try, and they did, and it worked for the guests who come here and they just want that third meal. And the Lord has blessed where you in the evening time, the time when you would get hungry for supper, you drink the tea of chickweed. It helps tremendously to for weight loss through appetite suppressant, but also other mechanisms. So those are some of the methods I would say. And be consistent. And the Lord will bless when you do your part for trying to lose weight. Go on those walks, eat properly, drink lots of water. In order to metabolize fat, your body actually needs water, right? Water helps with enzymes that break it down. So if you're dehydrated, you actually won't break down as much fat in the body. Lipolysis, I think it's called, or something like that. So you need to be hydrated. Drink lots of water.
Okay, thank you. So, Mrs. Fletcher, you can go ahead with your question, and then we have one more in the chat, and we'll be done for the day. Go ahead, Mrs. Fletcher.
It wasn't a question. I was just saying that I wasn't thinking about the time of the child. I was thinking about the age or the
Oh,
earliest age. Yeah, my my son said that his daughter don't believe that people should sleep because she keep awake all night and keep up
oh,
everybody. Yeah, so she don't believe that others should sleep. You see, but I think it's a practice of the mother had when she was pregnant because I asked her that. But now they're all suffering for that.
yeah. What age is it?
Well, she's just a year and 6 months, like a year and 3 months rather.
Yeah, and I want to just add this part to this though. It's not going to be easy. Now, what does she still breastfeed or no?
Yes, she
Okay.
does.
Yep. So two things she wants to start to do. Number one, the mother herself wants to start to drink some of those chamomile teas, those strong concoctions, especially like 30 minutes before breastfeeding. Drink those concoctions. But also at that age, she's fine to get some weak teas. So she can get like chamomile has been a very safe, catnip and chamomile has been very safe for children. So you could do she can give her child a weak tea. And when I say weak tea, try it out first, right? So we're talking half a teaspoon to 1 cup of water. And then having the child drink that and warm tea if the as the child drink that. And also watching the child in the day. So the child does you don't want to put the child like bed or naps. If the child takes any naps, have that happen earlier on. You don't want the child to sleep too like late in the afternoon because you want what's called adenosine, which is sleep inertia. To think the thing that kind of gets you sleepy is also adenosine in the body from all the day's labors and just being up. So she doesn't want the child not to sleep too late in the afternoon. You know what I mean? Like I would say after 2 o'clock, try not to have that child sleep and so seeing if that child will go sleep then too. So those are some things you can definitely try. Another thing that she could try is getting the lavender oil we talk about, putting that on in the room, the essential oil, letting that go into the room to diffuse, and getting the oil from the olive oil, or if she used the essential oil, she has to put that in a carrier oil, a coconut oil or something. So if she buy lavender oil from the store, put a couple drops in olive oil or coconut oil. Coconut oil is really good for the skin too, so maybe coconut oil. And she rubs that on the back and the chest and the feet of the baby. And just give that baby a little massage, a slight massage as she rubs it in. Another thing that's very helpful, last thing I'll share with you is a warm shower with lavender oil petals in there, or the lavender oil. She could make a little tea and give her a little bath in the lavender tea, a weak tea, and add that tea, a strong tea, I should say, and add that tea to the bath water for the child, just big enough for the child. Let the child steep in there. And when the child is coming out, she pat dries You don't want to stimulate the nerves. And we had to do this too. You want to take the towel and pat dry the body. When you frisk dry and you do this, you cause nerve stimulation. Friction is what we call it in hydrotherapy, and it's going to awake the child. You want to pat dry gently as she comes out the tub. Then you rub on the lavender oils on the back, and this is right before bedtime, right? So 30 minutes before bed, the tea, then a bath, then this oil rub, and see if that makes a difference for how quickly she goes to sleep, whether it's the onset or the maintenance of sleep. That's worth the try.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. And our last question, what is the best way to use black seed oil? And what is the benefits of black seed oil?
Yeah, so black
We
seed
didn't talk
oil,
about it.
you could use the black seed itself too. Black seed oil is really good for the immune system. Some people actually use it as part of a cancer protocol because of how strong an antioxidant it is and how it affects positively the immune system. So, up to a teaspoon a day to twice a day, but it is a strong. So I would start with a teaspoon for the average person, and then you use that. It's been known to help with blood sugar control. It's been known, but especially the immune system, I think is a big one. It's going to help with many things from a nutrition standpoint, from some of its nutritional profile. But I would say that the immune system is a huge one. Things like fungus on the toes. You can use black seed oil for fungus on the toe or athlete's foot. Um, so yeah, so that's how you externally and internally for warts. Some people have tried it for warts with good success. So certain warts. So I hope that helps.